What's going on, everybody? My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. It's wonderful to have you along for the ride. It wasn't the turkey that got me yesterday. I had turkey. I made turkey, brought it over to my brother-in-law's. We had a wonderful time. The kids were all playing together. It was just great. The turkey's not what got me. The steak. Yeah, we also had steak. That's not what got me. What got me is that my sister-in-law makes these flavored pretzels. I'm sure you're familiar with like the little bags of pretzels you could buy that have like the flavor like ranch or like honey Dijon or whatever, honey Dijon onion, whatever it is, honey mustard onion, which are amazing. But she makes these pretzels her own. I don't know what the spice was on them yesterday, but oh my goodness gracious, handfuls upon handfuls upon handfuls. I think I ate the entire tub. You know those. Like you have those sterno burners in those aluminum foil, or not aluminum foil, but aluminum bins that you use the sterno burners under, right? She basically had one of those full. It was completely full. And I think of everyone, I did the most damage to it. So a little salty, a little dry mouth today. But that's what got me overall yesterday. And it certainly wasn't the booze. Maybe a little bit of it was Matt Eberflus deciding not to help the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday on Thanksgiving. As I put it on social media yesterday, I am not thankful for the Chicago Bears. If that was Nick Sirianni, which it hasn't been recently, which has been really nice to enjoy Nick Sirianni not doing dumbass things and make dumbass decisions and all that fun stuff. But Matt Eberflus yesterday and Caleb Williams combined for sheer stupidity at the end of that Lions-Bears game. And, I'm not saying that the Bears would have went on to win, but I would have liked to see the Bears at least tie the game and then go into overtime. In case you didn't see it, the scenario was about 12 seconds left on the clock. The Bears are driving. They get to the 41-yard line of the Detroit Lions with about 12 seconds left. It's 3rd and 26, by the way. They're trying to get into field goal range. They need about 8 yards, I think it was, for field goal range, maybe even less. And they would have taken a field goal even if they just threw an incomplete pass and there was time left on the clock. They would have let it rip. But 3rd and 26 from the Detroit 21. It's 23-20 in favor of the Lions. Now, the Lions, in case you haven't been watching football this season, are 10-1. Now 11-1 after yesterday? I don't even know. I can't do math. I was told there'd be no math. 11-1 after yesterday. So they're 10-1 at the time. And the Eagles would greatly benefit from Detroit having a little slide at the later stages of the season, similar to what the Eagles had to experience or similar to what the Eagles experienced last year. So it'd be nice for the Lions to lose a game. Instead of, 12 seconds left, I see Caleb Williams line up in the shotgun, empty backfield, press coverage on the outside. I'm thinking someone's going to get off the line of scrimmage. They're going to get a slant. They're going to get 8 yards out of this. Or Caleb Williams is going to drop back and quarterback draw it and just try to get upfield a little bit and center it possibly to set up the field goal attempt. They also have one timeout remaining. So that's why I thought, maybe a quarterback draw, slant, middle of the field, call timeout, get the field goal unit onto the field, and then you kick the field goal. Or when I saw him drop back and really survey the field, I went, they're going to just try to chuck it into the end zone real quick. Well, they didn't do anything real quick, and they didn't even chuck it into the end zone. The throw was short of the end zone and would have had to been caught and carried into the end zone for the touchdown. Every decision that was made was dumb, and every attempt at executing anything smart was an epic failure. They walk off the field. Time expires, I should say. Caleb Williams throws it down the field. Time expires, and the Lions win the game 23-20. And they improve to 11-1 on the season, and the Eagles will be playing catch-up still. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Time was just going. They had the timeout in their back pocket. They're knocking on the door of a decent field goal range. And they just completely blew it. And Jim Nance's call was great. The Bears completely botched it. And I'm like, yeah, they did. You never know what's going to happen in overtime. So the Bears do us no favors. Thank you, Chicago. And also, I thought this was wild. I thought for the most part yesterday, the Lions played rather conservative. I'm just looking at the box score now, but I just thought throughout the game, 33 run attempts. I got the sense that they just kind of went into shell mode. Like they got up early, or they got up in the first half, I should say. They had 2 touchdowns courtesy of Sam Laporta. And then I felt like they got a little conservative, and the Bears started to come back a little bit. They also had a really bad fumble by Jahmyr Gibbs, but it was a good game. It was 16-0 at halftime, and then the Bears put on the comeback, and then the Bears were dumb. And it was funny. I was just talking to a friend of mine from Chicago about how dumb Matt Eberflus is. And I was like, really? Is he that bad? Because you don't go through it like the fans go through it when they're following the team and living and dying on every down. And I'm like, is it really that bad? They're like, oh, it's so bad. It's so stupid. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I understand what you mean. The Dallas Cowboys did take care of business there against the New York Giants. No Tommy DeVito. If you had Tua Tagovailoa on your fantasy team as your quarterback, you loved the garbage time yesterday against the Packers. Packers handled that business 30-17. So the Eagles really get no help other than this. I would rather a better draft pick go to the Giants than the Cowboys. So the Cowboys winning hurts their odds of moving up in the draft. 5-7 now on the season. Giants dropped to 2-10. So there you go. Drew Lock was fun to watch yesterday. As per usual. But that's the way that went down yesterday. As for your Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to be kicking off against the Ravens 4:25 this Sunday afternoon in Baltimore, Maryland, home of the crab cake. And I feel good. Yeah. Overall, when I think about the Philadelphia Eagles taking on anyone, the Eagles are a powerhouse. And here's the thing. Everyone wants the Eagles to play the Lions, like right now. That ain't happening. The closest thing to it is the Eagles taking on the Ravens. That's the closest thing. That's what we're going to – maybe the Steelers a little bit later in the season when the Eagles take them on. We'll see how that one shakes out. But they're not facing the Lions until, well, hopefully the playoffs. Because I'd love to see that juggernaut of a matchup, right? But the Eagles, when it comes to what's left on their schedule, the Ravens are the best team. Panthers, I truly believe, Panthers, Steelers, good football team. Then Commanders, Cowboys, and Giants. This is the toughest game the Eagles have the rest of the season. This is by far the biggest game of the season for the Philadelphia Eagles. This is the one that if you get a win, you should be able to, I feel, run the table. Now, that's a very difficult thing to do, as we all know, but they have a phenomenal shot of running the table after this. So for me, when I'm really breaking this game down and I'm going through the position groups and all that, and then we'll get into my 5 big things going into this game, the overall thing that I look at is the fact that the Eagles are just stacked. Like, okay, go running backs. Obviously, Derrick Henry's pretty damn good. Saquon Barkley's pretty damn good. You look at quarterbacks. Oh, you got a running quarterback. I should say mobile quarterbacks going against each other. That's pretty damn good. Linebacking core, pretty damn good when it comes to both sides. Secondary, I'll take the Eagles secondary. Offensive line, I take the Eagles offensive line. Defensive line, it's pretty close. But when you talk about firepower in the wide receiver group, this is where the Eagles run away with it. Now, Devontae Smith yesterday was limited at practice. Hopefully he'll be ready to go for this game. That was a step up certainly from not participating. So I'm glad to see that. The Eagles' biggest advantage, and this is acknowledging how great Lamar Jackson has been this season, especially when it comes to throwing the football. That's why I paused when I said running quarterbacks and talked about mobile quarterbacks, because that's a lot different. You're talking about a guy in Lamar Jackson that is just having another damn near MVP season. And you're talking about a guy in Lamar Jackson that is leading the league in passing yards, which is just something what? Also, leading the league in passer rating, Lamar Jackson this year at 117.9. Good Lord. So, yes, they are a juggernaut as well. But when it comes to the whole gambit, position group by position group, you're talking about Zay Flowers versus A.J. Brown. And then Devontae Smith. Talk about tight ends. I think Grant Calcaterra is a solid number 2. I think Dallas Goedert is a great number 1. Mark Andrews is one of the best in the league right now, especially when you're talking about the red zone. But all in all, I just think about the wide receiver position as being the difference maker for this Eagles-Ravens matchup. And I think the Eagles will be able to do a lot of different things. Good Lord. A lot of different things at will when it comes to their offense going into this game. It's going to be a great game. I want it to be a defensive battle. It is not going to be a defensive battle. So before we go any further, let's get into it. 5 big things. And then we got some stuff I want you guys to hear from the locker room this week. We have Lane Johnson. We have Vic Fangio. Excuse me. And we have Charles Harris. Brand new minted Eagle Charles Harris. Welcome to the pack from the Panthers. Described himself as the perfect fit for this defense. So we'll get into that. And what he knew about the Eagles before he got here. And really, it's the only thing that matters. So we'll get into that, all that and more. So let's get into it. 5 things. 5 big things about this game. Generally, looking at this game, I find this to be a phenomenal matchup for, aside from the obvious reason, 2 great teams. When it comes to the Eagles facing the Ravens, from the Eagles' perspective, one of the things I absolutely love about this game is not just that the Ravens are great, it's that the Ravens are so unique. So this is a huge test for Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond, who have had wonderful years. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. This is a phenomenal test. They haven't faced a running back anywhere, I mean, nowhere in the stratosphere have they faced a running back this season, but they haven't faced a running back anywhere decently good since you're talking about Josh Jacobs in week 1 in Brazil against the Packers. Like, I would put Derrick Henry as the best one they're going to face, and then he knocks Josh Jacobs down to a distant second, obviously, but you understand what I'm saying. This is going to be a great test for them. And Derrick Henry is the exact opposite of what the Eagles do well. Now, physicality factor from Zach Bond's stature has been great. Nakobe Dean, I know he planted Kyron Williams there against the Rams, and he got into the backfield, and he wreaked havoc and all that stuff. Derrick Henry ain't that dude, okay? He ain't Kyron Williams. He wants that smoke, and he looks for that smoke. He tries to find that smoke, and then he smokes you. That's the way it goes down. Now, there have been 6 teams this year that have held Derrick Henry under 100 yards. Hopefully the Eagles can crack that code. There's been 2 teams that have held Derrick Henry under 70 yards this season. So hopefully the Eagles can crack that code. But what makes this team, again, so unique is the fact that they can run the ball so damn well with Derrick Henry and the fact that they can be as physical. The other part of this is Lamar Jackson. You're talking about what? A mobile quarterback the Eagles have faced, what? Jaden Daniels? They haven't faced that many, and now they're facing the best that they can possibly see in Lamar Jackson. So guys are going to have to stay on their men longer when it comes to Nakobe Dean, when it comes to Cooper DeJean, when it comes to Isaiah Rodgers or Keely Ringo, who Vic Fangio said is right there, maybe a step behind Isaiah Rodgers and filling in for Darius Slay, who's still dealing with a concussion. You're going to have to cover those guys longer. You're also talking about Quinyon Mitchell taking care of his business as well. This is a uniquely good football team. It's not just like I look at the Lions and I just see a really good football team. I look at the Ravens and I see a uniquely good football team. Like you could game plan for the Lions like you can a few other teams and you could win. You could game plan for the Ravens unlike anyone else in the NFL because their offense is so stacked. And their offense is the best in the NFL. Number 1 ranking offense in the NFL. So let's get into it the rest of the way. That's the overall mindset, is the Eagles attacking a very unique, not only great, but unique opponent. First thing I look at, Lamar Jackson versus Fangio and the Eagles as a whole. In case you didn't know this, against Vic Fangio, Lamar Jackson last December when Vic Fangio was with the Dolphins put up a perfect 158.3 passer rating. Lamar Jackson did against Vic Fangio's defense. 158.3 passer rating, and he completed 85% of his passes for 321 yards and 5 touchdowns. He put up 56 on the Dolphins last year. Now, that was December. The Dolphins had some injury woes last year, so let's just blame that. Let's use injuries as an excuse just for the sake of optimism. And then in 2021, Jackson threw for 316 yards and a touchdown in a 23-7 Ravens win over Fangio's Broncos. Lamar Jackson, by the way, is 1-0 against the Eagles. That was back in 2020. Brandon Graham had 2 sacks in that game. But they lost to the Ravens in that one. Jalen Hurts also had 2 rushing attempts. That's when Carson Wentz was still your starting quarterback. So how about that? But Lamar Jackson, I referenced the numbers earlier, over 117 passer rating, leading the league in passing yards. He has just been phenomenal this year. And it's not just him being great, it's him buying time behind the line of scrimmage or him taking off. So this is the biggest test. This is by far the biggest test. You had Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp last week. Now you're going to have to worry about Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry running out of the backfield, and Mark Andrews coming up as well. Which brings me into the next thing here. Let's talk about Derrick Henry. The defensive line, as great as we have seen Jalen Carter take that next step up, and this linebacking core take that next step up this season, and Nakobe Dean really come into his own this year. They haven't faced a running back like this. Again, the best one they've faced to this point is Josh Jacobs. And now you're talking about a linebacking core stopping Derrick Henry. 140-plus yards last week. We went over the numbers many times, but good Lord. The last time the Eagles faced him was in 2022. It was the A.J. Brown revenge game, if you will, against the Tennessee Titans, and Derrick Henry was still running the rock for the Tennessee Titans. He ran for just 30 yards on 11 carries. That's it. 30 yards on 11 carries. Whatever Jonathan Gannon was doing that year seemed to be working pretty well. And also, Nakobe Dean played quite a bit in that game. I think he played about 55% of the snaps, 60% of the snaps. And Nakobe Dean has 6 tackles in that game. One of them was on Derrick Henry. So there's that. But I want the Eagles to be one of those teams that we have seen this year somewhat. It's like the old, I think it was the old Keith Olbermann line on SportsCenter growing up on Mondays, eating my cereal, hearing Keith Olbermann go, "You can't stop him, you can only hope to contain him." Well, that type of thing. Yeah, that kind of goes for Derrick Henry in this game. I want the Eagles to be one of the teams that have actually had a little bit of success surrounding him. And taking out a little bit of it, a little bit of what he's been able to do. Now, the Steelers were able to contain him at 65 yards. The Bengals held him to 68 yards. Both those games he had a touchdown. The Browns held him to 73 yards. The Bengals, in their first meeting of the season, held him to 92 and a touchdown. Good God. The Raiders, who are the only team to beat the Ravens at home this year, held him to 84 yards, 4.7 yards per carry. Good God. And the Chiefs in the first game of the season on 13 carries held him to 46 yards. So the Eagles just do what they did. Hey, we're golden. We're golden, Pony Boy. So, yeah, Derrick Henry, obviously, what I'm looking at next. Third, Quentin Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. These guys, I know the Eagles handled their business against Jared Verse last week, but Jared Verse is going to win the Rookie of the Year, the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Right now, he is going to win that award. Quentin Mitchell is only going to win that award if he gets himself some interceptions. Intercepting Lamar Jackson this year, that ain't going to be easy. 23 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on the season. But if Quentin Mitchell picks him off in this game, that's like 2 interceptions in 1. I think that's the ratio on intercepting Lamar Jackson. They count as 2. You do it once, it counts as 2. So do it twice, it's 4, baby. I'll do the math for you there. But they haven't faced a quarterback like this who's able to buy time, who's able to break it from the line of scrimmage, who's able to bomb the ball downfield, who could slay. Like his Lamar Jackson's throwing motion reminds me so much of Michael Vick in that you just see that arm go back and all of a sudden that elbow torques and darts, just darts. And he could throw it a country mile with that flick of his wrist. And that's exactly how I look at Michael Vick. I know a lot of people want to talk about the running abilities of both the quarterbacks. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about the littlest arm motion and the ball's gone 60 yards down the field. Lamar Jackson has that in him as well. So Cooper DeJean, Quentin Mitchell, Isaiah Rodgers, Keely Ringo, if Darius Slay is up and running in this game, another huge test. They will have to keep covering. We know that they can cover. We need to see them keep covering. When I talk about Zay Flowers, I compare him to A.J. Brown, for instance. Zay Flowers, fourth leading receiver in the NFL, 789 yards, but he's 30th in yards per reception, 13.8 yards per reception. That's what he's averaging. To compare that to A.J. Brown, he's fourth in the NFL at 18.6 yards per reception, just for reference right there. Also, if Cooper DeJean's going to slide down, take on a tight end, if Nakobe Dean's going to do that, whoever it might be, Mark Andrews, 6 touchdowns this season. Only one tight end in the NFL has more, and that's George Kittle with 8. So they got a nice little receiving core there when it comes to their tight end and it comes to Zay Flowers. So that's something to certainly keep an eye on in this one, and I certainly will. Something else I'm going to be looking at this game, the fourth thing I'm going to be looking at this game, Ravens have 39 sacks on the season, third most in the NFL. So Jalen Hurts is certainly going to have to keep his head on a swivel. And I think we all realize that when you're talking about Jalen Hurts and speeding up the clock, look, this isn't because Jalen Hurts had a historically awful turnover run. This is any quarterback, but especially those that have had a historically awful turnover run in their career the way Jalen Hurts did. You speed up the clock like any quarterback, you're prone to make mistakes. You're more prone to make mistakes. Now, this has not been an issue for Jalen Hurts. I'm not harping on it. I'm saying this for any quarterback. 39 sacks on the season. 2 guys on the defense, Kyle Van Noy being one of them that has 8 sacks on the year. Another with 6.5 sacks on the year. These guys get after it. It's a very simple concept. Don't let them get to Jalen Hurts. Now, fortunately, similar to what I've just was saying about Lamar Jackson being able to buy time behind the line of scrimmage, Jalen Hurts can certainly do the same thing. So it could be a tit for tat when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Ravens and quarterbacks having to stay on their men for longer, or quarterbacks eluding blitzes and quarterbacks eluding sacks in this one. But I look at it like this. Jalen Hurts is going to have to keep his head on that swivel against this defense because they will absolutely get after you. Now, the other benefit of this is when they blitz and they go aggressive, very similar thing that you could be seeing from Derrick Henry, where you just run right past the blitz. As they always say, sometimes you run right into it, sometimes you run right past it. The number one thing I'm going to be looking at in this game, I mentioned Derrick Henry earlier, but it's Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. I'm excited. As great of a challenge as this is going to be for the Philadelphia Eagles, I am just thrilled that this is a no BS game. This isn't a game where it's like, oh, you beat the Commanders. Oh, they were second, or they were first in the division, and then all of a sudden they found themselves a game and a half behind you after you beat them. This isn't like that. This isn't who you beat this week. Oh, you beat nobody. No, you beat the Ravens. You beat the Ravens. Well, again, only lost one game at home, and that was in week 2 against the Raiders. Ever since then, they've been on a nice little tear. But they're a beatable team. And I believe that the Eagles are the team to beat them. One last thing on Jalen Hurts and speeding up the clock. Marlon Humphrey, 5 interceptions on the season. He lies in wait. He lies in wait for a mistake. But I am just thrilled and excited to watch this football game and hopefully watch the Eagles handle their business. And I believe they will handle their business. I have the Eagles winning this football game 34-31. Close and uncomfortable. 34-31 Eagles win on a Jake Elliott last-second field goal. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. All right. Once again, I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I mentioned the numbers, by the way, earlier of Lamar Jackson and what he's been able to put up on Vic Fangio. 158.3 passer rating last December. That's pretty good. Vic Fangio was reminded of that yesterday.
Getting better and better at everything that he was already really good at. Without getting in a long dissertation about him, I just think he's a very special player.
He's had great success against you guys, against your defenses in particular. I think his numbers are off the charts.
Well, thanks for reminding me.
Well, do you have, for lack of a better term, nightmares about him? Just again, how aware are you of that?
Yeah, their whole offense is dynamite. You know, they run it great. They throw it great. They got good receivers. They got the best group of receivers they've had there in a long time. 2 really good tight ends. Their line is blocking good. You know, it's no accident they have the #1 offense in the league.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. I actually have footage, believe it or not. I have footage of Vic Fangio sitting down to game plan for Lamar Jackson. Ugh. I'm never going to not play it. It's just too much fun. The dad energy is strong on that one. So, look, certainly their work cut out for them in this matchup, which just goes without saying. I look forward to seeing the tactician. I look forward to seeing the tactician at work here. Speaking of guys being tested, talked about Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond and Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. We've talked a lot about Nolan Smith stepping up for Brandon Graham. I believe he's the #1 candidate that has to go into that role and have success and win battles one-on-one. Jalix Hunt also, by the way, got a big endorsement from Lane Johnson. In case you didn't hear this, Lane was asked, I said yesterday, Lane was asked Wednesday about who's going to step up. Is it going to be Nolan Smith? Teron Jackson? Jalix Hunt? That was the question. Here's Lane Johnson's response.
Yeah, man. I just think I think Nolan's progressing. I think Jalix is really progressing. Just from where he was earlier in this year, and you're seeing him add strength. I think his quickness and agility is really impressive. So I'm looking for Jalix to keep coming. Obviously, I think Nolan's done a great job this year. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really, but if there was a guy that, I think can make some exciting plays is Jalix.
How about that? If there's a guy that can make some exciting plays, it's Jalix Hunt. All right, let's go see it. Now, Lane Johnson last week, and we talked about it, talked a lot about Nolan Smith and just how he's gotten bigger this year. He's gotten faster this year. He has really come into his own as a pro. I fully admit did not expect any success this year with Nolan Smith. I was hoping at best we'd see some flashes. So far since the bye week, I mean, you talk about this entire team turning around since the bye week. You talk about Cooper DeJean playing since the bye week. You talk about Derek Gunn regrowing his mustache since the bye week. That has helped the Eagles tremendously. But all in that same category as Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith has played great since the bye week. It still breaks my heart that Brandon Graham was playing at such an incredibly high level on what was supposed to be a farewell tour. It looked like a resurgence tour. It looked like the BG comeback tour is what it looked like. And now you're going to have to fill not just the leadership, and he says he's still going to be around the team and still be a leader and still motivate. And Lane Johnson talked about that. Let's hear from that in a second. But you got to fill that production. Nolan Smith is a guy that has to step up. To me, he has to be the guy. I think Jalix Hunt right after that. Now, the Eagles went out there and they got Charles Harris, who was released by the Panthers, and went through waivers, and the Eagles were able to pick him up. Charles Harris seemed very excited to be in Philadelphia. He went from a piss-poor Panthers team. Now, all of a sudden, he's with the Birds. He was asked what he knew about the Eagles just before he signed with them, he was asked what he knew about the Birds, and it's pretty much the only thing that matters.
Before you got here, though?
The only thing I really need to know is playoff potential. It really is. So just giving that shot, understanding the history of the team, understanding it's a great organization, great players. You know what I mean? Obviously, the quarterback is obviously phenomenal. Offense, defense got, playmakers across the board. This is a really disciplined, team. Got a great legendary defense. So.
Yeah, I just found it interesting when I was looking at. He played 66% of the snaps for the Panthers. He's playing 66% of the snaps for the Panthers. He was just mincemeat. He was just deuces. See you later. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Also, special teamer as well. He described himself. He later went on to, in that interview, in that media session, describe himself as the perfect fit for this defense. Let's hope so. 29 years old, 6'3", Missouri guy. Was a first-round pick, 22nd overall in 2017. I believe that was the Derek Barnett year. Yeah. How about that? Look, we're all going to miss Brandon Graham, certainly when it comes to production. Okay. Brandon Graham said immediately after he announced that he was done for the year with torn triceps, he said that you're not going to hear the last of me. I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be talking. I knew Brandon Graham talked to the opponent. I knew at times Brandon Graham would talk to defensive players and talk some smack, talk some trash. I didn't know that he targeted guys that were lining up against Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson gives this beautiful speech about how he's going to miss BG on the field, and BG was still really good. And he even said, I know everyone said farewell tour, that wasn't going to happen with BG. So, no, he's too good. It gives this beautiful talk about how great Brandon Graham is. And then I think it was Jeff McClain of the Inquirer asked him, so what about when he would talk trash to defensive linemen to get them riled up to face you? And then Lane Johnson's like, yeah, about that. And here's the way that went.
And so yeah, man, he's not going to be playing, but he's going to be on the sidelines. He talks a lot of crap. What he's been doing this year, I just found this out. He goes up to all the guys I got to block pregame, talk to them. So I was wondering why Jared Versus always was so mad at me during the game, and it was because he was talking to him. And apparently he's been doing it for years. So
you see him do that before Super Bowl and Kelsey got
I saw him do it to Dexter Lawrence. I didn't see the Super Bowl, but
yeah, you're right. It was Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah,
I think he did the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I remember Dexter.
But hey,
that's the one guy you know.
I was wondering why he was so damn mad at me. And so, but yeah, man, it's definitely a big blow. But he's positive, and you're not gonna see the last of him. You're gonna hear him for sure.
One of my favorite things to do is when BG is mic'd up is just listen to him. And a couple of my favorite moments of BG being mic'd up is him just trash talking guys coming onto the field. They haven't even done anything yet. And he's just talking. And one of them, a couple years ago, he had the chicken sandwiches were all the rage and all that. And he's like, we're going to get that chicken sandwich. We're going to get that chicken sandwich. And I think chicken sandwiches, it was sacks. I think that's what he was taking the word sack out and putting in chicken sandwich. And then the other one was they were playing, I think it was a Sunday night game in San Francisco, and he's mic'd up, and he just won't shut up. And Fletcher Cox at one point, it's like a crucial moment of the game. They're coming to the line of scrimmage. They've already broken their defensive huddle. The Niners are coming to the line, and BG is still talking, and Fletcher Cox has to be, all right, man, put a lid on it for a second. And BG just goes, all right. It's like that. Like, oh yeah, I should probably focus on playing right now, not talking so much. But the fact that he's going up to defensive players, getting them riled up to face Lane, that's pretty funny. And at least Lane finds the humor in it. A lot of humor in it, apparently. But yeah, good stuff in the locker room this week when it came to Vic Fangio, when it came to Charles Harris, it came to Lane Johnson. Also, listening to Lane just talk about taking on this defensive line and this defense led by Kyle Van Noy with 8 sacks on the season is or excuse me, for him having 8 sacks on the season is something certainly to look at. Before we get into the chat check, let me tell you about the great people at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Download the MyBookie app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20, or excuse me, and get up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. How about the Game Time app? Download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Want to go to the game? Want to go to the concert? Want to go to the comedy show? Download the Game Time app, and you'll have yourself a great time. Sixers come back in town. Want to go to a Sixers game? Game Time app is where it's at. Download the Game Time app. And also, you can toggle the Game Time Picks feature, which allows you to filter out all the fluff and get right down to it. The best seats at the best prices with the Game Time Picks feature on the Game Time app. And how about this? The incredible Game Time app also features all-in pricing. So you never get that sticker shock. When you go to check out, you see exactly what you're paying before you check out when you toggle the all-in pricing feature on the Game Time app. Nothing like being at the game, the thrill of the game, going to a basketball game, the squeak of the sneakers, being on the ice, the sound of the horn. When the Flyers score a goal, nothing like being there. So download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. That's F-A-R-Z-Y, Farzy, on the Game Time app for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. One more thing before I get into the chat check. If you got a final score for me, Eagles Ravens, you let me know. I'm at 34-31. Eagles win this game. You let me know what you guys have. Jay, what's going on? Bears gonna Bears? Pretty much. Not Derek 1. Fly Eagles fly. Hell yeah. Why Niners? Why? Good morning, Farzy and friends. Hope everyone had a good day. Yes, I had a wonderful day. It was very nice. The best thing for me, because I grew up with 1,000 cousins, is seeing my daughter play with her cousins. That's the best thing in the world. And then having to tell my daughter when she's so sad because she's 5, when she wants to leave, or we have to leave. She's like, no. And I'm like, you're going to see your cousins tomorrow. So you're not going to see her 8 hours without them. You'll be sleeping most of that time anyway. But the kids running around and playing together is fantastic. And my son is going to be 3 in January, so we're almost at the age where we can just completely let him free and not have to worry about anything until we hear a crash sound in another room. And then we're good. Just watch football. Luke Skylifter, what's going on? Lions don't scare me. That game is going to come down to who makes more plays, Jalen or Goofball. My money's on QB1. I'm with you. The Lions don't scare me either. I respect them, but they don't scare me. I think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. And I think the Eagles are going to have a chance to prove that they're the best team in the NFL. And the best case they could do that is to keep winning. The other best way to do that is to beat the Ravens. J Mosk, what's going on? If Philly starts slow, like they often do, and the Ravens get a quick lead, that's the biggest problem I see. That's a great point. We got to start scoring quick. Yeah, absolutely. I 1,000% agree with you on that. I think that's a great point. That can't be a thing. Like, here's the thing. This is the type of game that really, I watch every game as if it's Eagles fill in the blank with great opponent. When I watch games against the Rams, for instance, or if I watch games against the Commanders, or if I watch games, basically any inferior opponent that I go into the game expecting far inferior, the Jaguars is another one. I always watch the game from the standpoint of, and this is well before Jalen Hurts ever made it cliche, the standard. Are they playing like a team that could win a championship? So even if they just squeak by the Jaguars, and that game's a hell of a lot closer than it should have been, can you make those decisions in a game against an upper echelon team like the Ravens and expect to win? The answer to that is an emphatic no. So this is the type of game where I look at other games the Eagles have played this season, and say, all right, well, you can't play like that or make decisions like that or make a throw like that or fumble the ball like that or blow coverage like that against an upper echelon team like the Ravens or the Lions and expect to get away with it. So this is the game where all hands are on deck, man. All hands are on deck. Starting early, is another mistake they constantly make, Jay. So, starting early would be good in this scenario. Jason A., good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. Devontae, what's going on? I got the Eagles 27-24. Love it. I think it's going to be a problem with Devontae not being out there. If he's not playing, Arthur. Yeah, Arthur McQueen. If Devontae Smith is not out there, then, that'll be a problem. But he was upgraded to at least limited yesterday at practice, or Wednesday at practice. So today will be a big test. Today will be a big test. Also, how about this? The Eagles not only have their biggest opponent or biggest challenge coming up here with the Ravens, they also have the last time. Well, let's see. Yeah, they're done on getting on planes. They have a little bus ride down to Baltimore, Maryland, and that's that. A couple other things I want to throw to you guys regarding this matchup. Two highest scoring teams in the NFL. Two of the hottest running backs in the game. Eagles average 26.9 points per game. That's the seventh most in the NFL. They're the seventh best team on third down. Ravens are at 30.2 points per game. Third best offense on third down. So these are going to be some extended drives without question. Oh, Roquan Smith. How did I not even mention Roquan Smith? Whether or not he'll be up and running for this one. Yeah. This is going to be a fun one. Eagles, this is one thing I wanted to check for you. Eagles have 3 more takeaways on the season, by the way, defensively speaking. So that's going to be an interesting one. Mint Diggity, great name. 23-1 versus 23-1 versus NFC is crazy. Go Birds, 23-2. What? Is a button not working on your keypad? Mint Diggity? Thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, skymotorcars.com. Your Philadelphia Flyers came away with a win. How about that? Against the Nashville Predators 3-2. If you guys caught me and Bernie Perrant on WBCB and also on YouTube on the ice, I hope you guys enjoyed it. That was a lot of fun to do. I totally credit myself and Bernie Perrant with the Flyers' success that night. So that was good. Sean Couturier lit the lamp, as well as Morgan Frost, Mofro, and Scotty Lawton. Fine job by them. The Flyers are going to be back on the ice. Are they back on it tonight? I think they're back on the ice tonight. Tonight against the Rangers. They welcome the Rangers. This afternoon against the Rangers. 1 o'clock puck drop. 76ers back in action tomorrow night. 7 o'clock tip-off against the Detroit Pistons. I'm thinking of Detroit. Detroit Pistons, 7 o'clock tomorrow night. So that'll be a fun one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Mint Diggity. It's early, my man. Wine Niners wine. Farzy, for all the ball busting about them Sixers, I appreciate starting my mornings with your positivity. Thanks, man. Yeah, you got it, Wine Niners wine. Hey, hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to do my damnedest to try to be on after the Sixers game, Sixers-Pistons, Saturday night. I'm going to have a house full of people. But I'm going to hope I can hop on for the postcast on Locked On Sports Philadelphia's YouTube channel. So make sure you like and subscribe. I will be on with you guys Sunday with Derek Gunn and Seth Joyner on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel as well to give you all your pre and post game needs there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. Have a great rest of your week. If I don't see you, go Birds, hon. See you.